Welcome to Coffee is for Closers. I'm your host, Tim Brigham, and today I have somebody really cool in the studio who's very well known in Chicago. I'm honored to have him. DeVon Chandler's with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
For those who don't know you in the audience, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm the self-proclaimed best realtor in Chicago. No, I'm kidding.
Love it.
But no, been in real estate now since 2015. I run a team at Dreamtown, so a team of 4, and we're just looking to do things the right way and close some deals.
That's awesome, man. So, talk to me about your team. So you got a team of 4 people underneath you?
Yep, team of 4. So myself, Jordan, Fuller, Melanie, they're awesome. Julian, he's awesome. Jordan's got about 5 years of experience. Melanie's been in the industry for about 2 years, and Julian's about a year in. So yeah.
Awesome. How long have you been doing this?
This is my 9th year. So
9th year.
Ninth year, 4th year full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 4th year full time. So how did you get into real estate?
Yeah. So Eli Massoud is like a good mentor of mine. So way back when I worked at a company called James Hardy. We were a cement siding company. So Hardy board siding.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Man, that's a hard job.
Yeah. So I started out actually knocking doors, going to different neighborhoods in the suburbs, and basically had a little quick canned sales pitch of, do you know your neighbors, the Chandlers? Fucking made up name, right. Asking them if they wanted a quote on their siding. And so I started there. Eli was there. He was doing real estate part-time.
So hold on, back up. So you started with door-to-door knocking on people. So like you're literally the guy who knocks on the door and pretends that, you're just in the neighborhood working on the neighbor's house. And wow.
Oh, yeah.
You cut your teeth hard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a rough one.
Door slammed in my face. Cops called. Where's your green vest? Like, do you have your permit?
Called?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Fun stuff.
So how did you transition from that into real estate? I mean, there is a synergy there, but wow. Yeah. That's a different one.
Yeah. So it's kind of a cool story. So Eli was doing real estate part-time, and he kind of knew that I wanted to, make more money and also just kind of level up. And so he started showing me commission checks like, hey man, like I know you're looking to, make more money. You should think about real estate. And so, me being from East St. Louis, not really ever seen a lot of money. I'm like, no, bro, I'm good. Making a nice $30,000 a year. I've made it. Like, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm set for life. And he started showing me commission checks, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this dude just made my salary in about a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So literally went online.
That's a good mentor to have. It's almost like Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, yeah, literally like Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, before the movie.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah. So, yeah, Eli's my guy. So took the test. Passed it, joined his team at Dreamtown.
Okay.
Fast forward, I got, I'm branded with his team logo. So
Stop it.
Oh yeah. I know it's psycho, but he's my guy though. So don't say anything bad about Eli Massoud in front of me.
Yeah, that's great. That is great. Wow. I think it's the first person to come in with a team tattoo.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Listen up, team. Next meeting, we're all getting tattoos. So just letting you know, Caroline, Jeff, we're coming for you. No, that's great, man.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he taught you quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Like, so walk me through you didn't start out producing, or did you? I mean, what was it like in the beginning?
Yeah. So I like to say I hit the ground running, right? But no, like the first 7, 8, 9 months, I mean, I was twiddling my thumbs. Like, where are the deals?
Yeah.
You pass the test, you get a nice jacket. I'm looking to partner. I'm like, all right, like I'm ready to do real estate. And it's like, it's not how it works. You got to put the work in and then the deals come, at least for most people, right? And so, we started out just kind of trying to work on the sphere of influence and tap into that and just kind of make it happen. But the first 7, 8, 9 months were rough, literally very rough.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what changed?
Yeah. So what changed was treating it more like a 9-to-5 job. So I'm sure you've heard that before, but basically adding structure to my days. So before, I was the dude that would, stroll in 10:30, hungover, like, oh, I'm here to do real estate,
That's the hard part is that as a fully commissioned salesperson, I think a lot of agents and loan officers struggle with this, is that they don't know where the next deal is going to come from. They just assume that the license is going to carry them. And so without structure, without a mentor, without a coach, right? You're just kind of doing busy work all day.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? I mean, you're busy, but you're not making no money-making activities, right? You and I were talking about this backstage.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. What were the money-making activities? And the audience is realtors, right? Talk to them. Like, what is it that you do that makes you money on each day?
Yeah. So I'll back up even a little bit and say, when you're starting out, like for most realtors, I'd say, you don't have any credibility, don't have a reputation in the industry. You really don't know what you're doing yet. Like you passed the test, but that doesn't mean you know how to do real estate. And so for me, with Eli, we said, let's add structure to your day. And let's put money-making activities into that day. And so the first thing we did was we started doing these social media power hours. And so, essentially...
Hold on. Yeah. Social media power hour?
Yep, social media.
I've heard of power hour, but never social media.
Yeah.
Expand on that.
Yeah, so it's like a newer school kind of approach to a power hour. So Jason Pantana, tag him in this video because... like every realtor should follow him, point blank, period. Like ton of knowledge.
Shout out Jason.
Shout out Jason, exactly. So he's one of Tom Ferry's guys. But he talked about, there's the old school power hour that we talked about backstage of, cranking out calls for an hour to, expireds, FSBOs, cancels, which is a great way to grow your business. But for me, it was like, I don't like to do that.
Yeah.
It's difficult, right? And so we started doing the social media power hour where we would, go on social media for an hour, do 200 likes, 50 comments, 20 DMs to get one appointment. And so, just a different approach to, tapping into your sphere, talking to people who you don't really talk to. And
let's slow that down.
Yeah.
So walk me through it. So you go through and 20, you're trying to set at least one appointment, right? 20 DMs.
Yep.
Do you have a script? Like how do you follow the DMs?
Yeah, so great question. So even before the script, it's, which social media platform should you do it on? And so for me, it'd be different for Eli or you or another realtor, right? So like maybe newer realtors who are literally just getting in, maybe they start with their power hour on TikTok, right? Because that's where their followers are, right? For me, it was mostly Instagram. For an older generation, it'd be Facebook, right? And so, or a combination of a couple. So we did Instagram and LinkedIn. Because I was in that professional world, I had a good amount of people who I connected with via LinkedIn. And so similar thing, going through liking 20 posts, making comments and DMs, but the end goal was always to get at least one appointment. And that appointment didn't have to do anything with real estate. It's just a way to connect with people. And so we talk about, for realtors, we're in the people business, right? So, and it's just a numbers game. So if you're talking about social media power hour, phone call power hour, open houses, events, whatever it is, those are all just different ways to talk to people and communicate, right? And so whatever the medium is, it just needs to be something that's consistent that you can do over and over and over again. And it helps when you actually enjoy doing it. So for me, the old school power hour, hated it. Didn't do it consistently, didn't like it, versus the new way, social media. I mean, that's my wheelhouse. Like I grew up as a social media baby. And so it didn't really seem like a traditional, like daunting, anxiety driven task. So.
Yeah, that's something that I get into on a regular basis with my coach, right? Is that we're now at a point where he agrees. He sees social media as a valuable, resource. But there was times there where we'd have conversations on, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Is this making you money? And he said something to me that was super powerful, and I'll carry it with the rest of my life. He said, okay, because I had this big pitch. It's like, oh, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I've got this activity. And he goes, cool. Hey, are you tracking it? And I went, what? What do you mean? He goes, well, so are you tracking when you do an activity and then it leads to this and it leads to this and you can point it toward a paycheck, right? Show me that you've done that and I'll believe you. And I went, oh, that's actually a really good point, because I find that a lot of these people are more social media influencers than they are actual professionals, right? And I don't mean to offend anyone when I say that. I'm not impressed with how many followers somebody has. I'm impressed with how much activity you're getting, how much you're, what you're actually getting out of it versus my mom already thinks I'm cool. Right. I mean, there's no point to that. It's an influencer versus an actual professional of getting to an appointment. I love that you say it that way, because I think a lot of people are thinking they're getting validation from just the activity, comments, likes, but they're not actually doing anything with it, right? They're not actually getting fundings from it. They're just present. Right. Do you track so do you hold yourself to like a goal or something? How do you do it?
100%. So I've heard a million times from older generations that, how do you get your ROI on social media, right? Like how does it lead to actual dollars? Which is a valid question. But my answer usually is, first of all, it's fucking free.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm not really dumping money into it initially. Like, obviously you can boost posts and do stuff like that, but for newer realtors, it's free. So like, you should be doing free stuff to grow your business. But to answer your question, if I track it, absolutely. And so, we have a business tracker that we use for our team, and we're tracking connections. So a connection is going to be something that, it's a meeting, but it's like not related or tied to real estate. So like if I said, hey, Tim, let's grab a coffee, that's a connection appointment. If I said, hey, let's go bowling, that's a connection appointment, versus real estate appointment, that's like real estate related. And so the goal for the week is to do, for me, 7 connections, meaning just like 7 coffees, if you will, or like 7,
sure.
Let's grab a glass of wine. And then the
right.
goal is to do 5 real estate related appointment. That could be a listing appointment. It could be a buyer's consultation. But, we're tracking it week over week, and we're kind of starting with that goal of the year, and then just kind of backing into it. So if the goal of the year is X, how many is that per month, per week, et cetera, et cetera.
And then you probably, I would look at that and say, okay, well, how much money did it make me, right? Like, so depending on how many I did, can I translate to the actual commission check?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you expand on the things that worked, and then expand, the things that don't work, start kind of removing those out.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And we're not reinventing the wheel. Like, this isn't like the social media power hour part is kind of like newer, but like in terms of like tracking things, like you should be tracking everything, but like we're not reinventing the wheel. And we're not, I always say to my team, like, we're not like putting a rocket on the moon. Like, this is real estate. Like there should be less anxiety to ask a friend of yours who you're friends with on social media, to grab a coffee or a glass of wine or a beer. Like, let's just start there. And you got to have faith in the process to know that, you're showing up with like an authentic intention of just like connection, and they'll refer you. Like, I'm an energy guy, right? So like if I sat across from someone and I could tell they're waiting for me to pitch me on something, you can feel it.
Yeah. Commission
like,
breath.
Yeah, you can feel it. And so like I'm going into it, I'm using the old school Ford acronym of, family, occupation, what's R stand for? Relationship, and dreams.
Yeah.
Right. And so just kind of using it as like a baseline of like, let's have a conversation. They're going to ask you how fucking work's doing. Like they're going to be like, hey man, how's work going? Yeah. And then you can softly pitch them on real estate, but you don't go into it with like, hey, let's grab a coffee. Hey, by the way, I'm a realtor. Please use me when you want to buy a home. Yeah. Just go into it authentically, and like it
cheapens the relationship at that point.
100%.
When somebody sets an appointment with me and the first thing they're talking about is a pitch, it's like you almost are like, why am I here? Like, listen, you could tell me that over the phone and I would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
Now you feel like your friendship is in jeopardy because it's like, you're only here because you want money out of me. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's also why I love real estate though, because it's the genuine relationships, the ones that you form where you're actually friends, right? It's so cool because you can make money together, but also you're changing people's lives.
Totally.
That's what we do.
Yep.
Right. What the work that we do, you're taking somebody and this is where they're going to start their career. This is where they're going to, put their kids to sleep. This is where they're going to, whatever their dreams are, you're a part of that. And that's just so cool. Don't cheapen that with money. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. I love that you're tracking things. What I find that some agents, we have this conversation and I think they track up to a certain point, and when they miss is they don't track where their business actually comes from. Do you do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Expand on that.
Yeah. So we just call it a business audit. And so we do it multiple times through the year, but a big one at the end of the year. And it's just you literally pulling out a list of your closed deals and figuring out where they came from. And so for us, we like label each one like, which lender, which attorney, was this an agent referral? Was this, wherever it came from, right? And just going down the list. And so last year, 90% of my business, actually last 2 years, 90% of my business was from sphere of influence, but tied to college. So I played college basketball. So it's going to be a connection from that or just the school in general. So it makes it easy for me to say, cool, where should I spend my money and time next year? On that shit. Like, that's where my money should be going. Like, let's not try to go spend $1 billion on Zillow leads or like doing stuff that may or may not work. Let's just focus on this and like see if we could just double, quadruple that because it's clearly working,
Hey, just listen to what he just said. This is the most powerful thing that if you listen to anything on this show, this is the most powerful thing in the industry right now, is that if you can quantify where your business is actually coming from, if you're not tracking where that lead source came from, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're doing busy work all day. Figure out where your business come from. What was the activity that you did that got you the lead, right? You being active in basketball or as an alumni and staying active with those people, you're staying relevant with them, and you can clearly quantify that is also has an ROI. So you're doing something that you love on top of it's keeping you in business, right? What's cool too is that some agents, they could look at the different categories of where we get business from, what's possible. We can obviously expand on that in a different time, but the looking at and if you have gaps, if you're missing, right? If you're not getting referrals from your past clients, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It means you're not doing the activities that are required to get those from your clients, right? I was talking to an agent one time and I said, how many referrals have you got? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I get referrals all the time. I said, well, but you get them from past clients? He goes, well, no, Tim, I've never gotten a referral from a past client. I go, but you've closed a good amount. What?
Yeah.
He goes, I don't know. He goes, I feel like if I just do a good job, I'm going to get business from my past client database, and it's just not happening. I said, have you called and asked? Well, no. I said, well, that's probably a good way to start, right? And a lot of people just have to unpack those things. I love that you've got a system for all of these things, and you know what to look for and what to cut off.
Yeah.
Where do you think most agents are failing right now?
So I'll give you a good example. We talked backstage a little bit about it. Joseph Morris. He's a kid, and I can call him a kid. He's 21 years old. Beast.
Shout out to Joseph.
Shout him out. Got to get him on here. I mean, he is a freaking young stud. And he was also in the services. He's just amazing. So I think he said he's doing he's kind of done about 7 to 8 million last couple years, which is great. This is his second or third year in the industry.
How old is he?
21.
He's doing 7 to 8 million. He's 21 years old?
Sir, beast.
Joseph, I'm calling you, buddy.
So we do this team lead mastermind group every month. And so last night we were literally just talking about, just different ways that we could crush next year. And so he's like, hey guys, what are some things I can do next year to get over this 8 million kind of hump? And someone was like, well, do you do anything with your past clients? And he's like, no, tell me more. So this dude's crushing it. Hasn't touched no gifts, no client parties, no nothing. And so he left with 8 pages of notes on shit to do, free stuff and cheap stuff, and then also the client parties. And so, he'll easily do 10 next year just from tapping into that, the people that he already closed business with. And so to answer your question about where are agents failing, I don't know if I would say where agents are failing, but where there's an opportunity would be to literally just crush your past clients and spend time with them. I think Tom Ferry calls it loving up on them, just being close with them, sending them random thank yous. The pumpkin thing that I think Tommy Choi does a pie every year. We were talking about doing scratch off tickets on St. Patty's Day.
Yep. I'm so lucky to work with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Just cheesy stuff like that. But not going to reinvent the wheel and chasing ooh, I got to be getting Zillow leads or I got to go do this. But just love on that. Love on who, you've already won over and let them do the heavy lifting in terms of preaching your gospel to their friends and, grow your business that way. So
it's truly having a business that's independent. Right. And I think that's something that a lot could learn from you is that you have to look at this a certain way, that you have a sphere of influence. You have, this client database. It's not time to just go get leads so that you can build that. Instead, you've already done a really good job for some people. That's the best possible referral source you could have. That's the best army you could have because they already know who you are, right? They know your service. They did a great job. One of the most rewarding parts of my job is when I call the past clients, right, and check in with them, and just saying simply, hey, listen, I don't want anything from you. I just call and say, hey, I just want to check in on you.
Yeah.
You should hear the sound and their voice just changes. Goes, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you haven't done that and you're watching this, do it today. Go spend an hour just calling people, telling you appreciate them, right? It's free, like you said. Focus on the free stuff.
Focus on the free
before you start buying Zillow and all these other things. you can do that. It's great,
Yeah.
that you can do those things. But if you haven't done that part first, that's where you start.
Totally.
Right?
And if I could add another point. So
Yeah.
when I started, I'm cut from the old school DeVon Sanders. Like, I know he's popping now, but like, look good, feel good, play good.
Yeah.
And so when I first started, I would like look the part. And so like Jay-Z talked about like emulating the current version of him. He's like, no, like emulate the shit I was doing when I was like hustling.
Yeah.
Like putting the work in. Like, don't just emulate the end process, like emulate the work process, like the, cold calls or social media or open houses. Like emulate the work, and then the result will come. When I first started, I was like, ooh, that guy looks cool, I'm gonna go get a new suit, and I'm broke as shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's focus on the actual work, and like,
yeah,
the end result will come, but you got to do the work first. And so
that's a great point. And unpacking that, right, is that I think a lot of people think success looks like the end product, right? Success to people like us looks like while you're in it, right? When you're grinding, when you're, I've never met a top producer that's lazy. I've never met a top producer sitting around, just trying to emulate something. They're behind the scenes, they're grinding their butt off. I mean, they're just nonstop. Don't ever sit still, and because they know that at any point somebody can take it from them. Right? That's real estate's rough, right? What do you think, would be something that you would say to somebody who's watching you, that talk to the person who was the 8 months in guy. Talk to them right now. If what we're seeing in this industry is we've seen a shift, right? We're seeing that it's not 2021, 2020, like, right? Deals aren't falling from the sky. Probably looking at it going, all right, well, maybe it's time I go do something else. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say literally start with like finding a mentor if you don't have one. Like get cozy with someone who, is doing business and real estate the way that you want to do it. So for me, I was lucky and fortunate, because I had an Eli, and now I'm close with, a handful of realtors. But find a person who is doing what you want to do and showing up how you want to show up, and like literally DM them or give them a call, because chances are they've been through a down market before, and they can kind of tell you how to navigate it. And like a really, really good mentor is going to say, hey, like, this too shall pass. Like we're going to come out of this, and so just hang on in there, and weather the storm.
Tom Hanks did a whole thing on this.
I stole it from him.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Times are good. This too shall pass. Times are bad.
Yeah.
This too shall pass.
Absolutely.
Just wait.
100%.
Right? 2008, we saw some of the and I thought that was going to be it. That was going to be the worst that we'd seen in regards to foreclosures and all of those things. And I want to be clear, it was so far. This isn't anything like that. It just means business is slow. Back then, we saw rampant foreclosures and people were losing their houses, right? That's not what's happening right now.
Right.
We have a lull period due to rates. And the craziest thing is that in 2008, when everybody was so panicking and dropping their properties and everything was just dominoing, if you waited 7 years and just hung on, the graphs will tell you we were above in appreciation. We were above values 7 years later. All you had to do was hang tight.
Yeah.
Right? What comes next is rates drop, and we will see the market rebound.
Yeah.
I just reported on this the other day. I just posted it. We've lost half of the mortgage loan originators across the country because they just can't. They're not going to hack it anymore. Either the old timers are done, or the newer guys are just, this isn't easy money anymore.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen to realtors?
Yeah, so I think we're seeing similar things. I think last time I saw the numbers, it was like 60,000 were out of the business. And I think,
wow.
Yeah, and I think in real estate, what is it? 90% or 10% of realtors do 90% of the volume.
Right.
So I think that the people who are hustlers and are grinders are fine. Like it's a tough year, but like there's still deals being closed, which is like my motivation. I'm like, well, that motherfucker just closed the deal. Like let me go back on social media. Let me tap into my sphere. But I think that, the strongest are going to survive and people are going to get out of the industry. But we were inflated anyway from, what was it? 2 years ago when there were so many people who came into the industry for the easy money.
Easy money, right?
good for
Right.
you. Like, I hope you made some money, but I think that the stronger realtors will survive, like the people who, have systems in place and, saved properly, all that good stuff. So I think it'll be,
Probably going to piss some people off with this, but what you said was true, is that I don't know a top producer that if you called them out of the blue and said, look, I'm struggling, can I please pick your brain for a minute? I don't know a single one that would hang up on you.
Yeah.
They may be busy and say, hey, I'll call you back, or let's set an appointment or something. But I don't know a single person who wouldn't be more than willing to hand the torch over.
Yep.
Tommy Choi, right? Same thing. He
Yep.
loves pouring into people. So sorry, Tommy, if that makes your phone ring, but it is what it is.
Well, I think to your point, like, and there's levels to this, right? Your Larry C's and TC's, like, I'm striving to be there, right? But I think that, like, they understand how difficult the industry is. And at one point they were starting out, and like they had someone who they could call to help them through tough times, or like, hey, I'm dealing with this sort of client, or like, no one in my sphere is, buying right now. Like, what should I be doing?
Right.
And so I think that because they've been through it, like, they're more open to, picking up the phone and taking 5 minutes to, like, give you some advice, or like at least pointing you in the direction you should be going into. At least that's been my experience. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other resources you think out there? What do you go to get your besides your mentors and coaches? What organizations are you a part of, or what do you recommend, that's out there that people should check into?
So glad you asked that question. So in terms of organizations, so I've been involved in CAR, Chicago Association of Realtors, for the past 6 years, I think. And one that's near and dear to my heart is YPN, Young Professionals Network. So
Yeah.
I was the chair for last year. And I mean, there's 33 different committees, so pick one. But for me, CAR was the one that kind of, was my tribe. So I went to one of the breakfasts. Grace Kagi was the president at the time. And literally I walk into this room and I'm like, who the hell are all these people? Like, what is this? And, it was a panel about how to literally write a contract. And I didn't know how to do it. So I was like, oh, wow, this is great. Like, I was just, needing to learn how to do this. And so, but what ended up happening is, like, you find your tribe and you meet like-minded people who are either, hustlers as well, and they're kind of newer too, and they're struggling with the same things you're struggling with, and you can kind of, form a bond and start to learn how to grow together. So the effect that happened that I didn't account for was now getting business nationally from, realtors who are in other YPNs across the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, that's something that was not intentional at first, but like we talked about earlier, auditing your business in terms of like learning where deals are coming from. Like, I looked up one day and I was like, wow, I got 3 deals this year from realtors from out of the state. Like, how do I get more of that? So I got more involved, and just kind of snowball effect, and here we are.
I think that's something that a lot of people miss on, is that they're working on Zillow leads or just clients that are interested or whatnot, but we are an industry that takes care of each other, right? And if you're a quality human and you surround yourself with other quality humans, there's a dividend out there.
Yep.
There's plenty of agents in other states that, they just want their client to land safely. They don't want them to leave their state. They're moving from Texas to Illinois or whatever, right? They just want to make sure they're putting with somebody who's going to be just as professional or take care of them, because they don't want the phone call back of, oh yeah, I mean, it's sure different out here. I mean, this guy doesn't answer his phone or something, right? I mean, it's so there's something definitely there through social media and through these groups that
It's
people
free.
And it's free. It's free, right? Nothing better than getting that phone call saying, oh yeah, hey, do you want a client that's ready to go?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
You're an amazing person, and
Thank
I
you.
think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this. And I thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Great, man.